I'm supposed to be doing, which is record. Okay, so on November the 5th, we're going to have a program by Dr. Andy Glusenkamp from the San Antonio Zoo, who's going to talk to us about preserving a Texas icon, the Texas horned lizard reintroduction project. And if people of a certain age remember when these little critters were running all over the Texas, and now they are not anymore, and the zoo's conservation department is trying to bring them back. So to register, you go on Bear Audubon. In your newsletter, you'll have a link. You can just click and sign up. There's a $5 registration fee, and all of that money will be donated to the San Antonio Zoo Conservation Department this year to help them out. So tickets will be on sale till about November the 1st. So please get your tickets. And after you purchase your ticket, on November 1st, you'll get a link to the Zoom meeting, how to get in the meeting. So that'll come afterwards. So don't want to miss that. He's a good, good speaker and tell us all about the program. Then, if you're interested in having a legacy, of naming a baby lizard, wait, what's happening here? Something happened. I hit the arrow, Tom said. Okay, to name a baby horned lizard for a donation of $25, you can name a baby lizard. And at the November 5th affair, we're going to pick a name at random. And that person who has named a lizard, if their name is called, they will get a behind-the-scenes tour for 4 people to the Lizard Conservation Center, and you can see where they're hatched and all the things they do to make this happen. And they also have some other critters in there that they're working with, some salamanders and some other critters. So name it after somebody you like. They're really cute, and help support their conservation. Now, later in November, on the 17th, we have a talk about catios. Now, catio is a patio for cats, and you can see that it's an enclosure so that the cat can enjoy the outside without being endangered itself, and also without endangering the wildlife, including our birds, our birdie friends. Now, the person who's going to be speaking knows of which they speak, because Cynthia Chomos is the founder of Catio Spaces. And she's out of the northwestern part of the United States, and she's going to be speaking to us on Zoom and tell you about how you can build your own or have plans to have someone else build it for you. So that'll be an interesting talk. It's an up-and-coming thing. You're just not anybody. If you have a cat, you don't have a catio. You just have to get one of these. That's one of her catios right there. Then, if you are not yet a member of Bear Audubon, we cover all these counties, and we'd love to have you as a member. Join us. We love birds, and we love working to conserve them and to learn about them. And we have a website, bearaudubon.org, that you can learn more and become a member. We would love your support and your membership. So that's all I have as far as what's coming up, except for what's coming up tonight. Now, the person you see in this picture with that big old raptor on her arm is Yvette Stewart. And she's going, there she is, with a little bit different look, no bird on her arm. And she's going to talk to us tonight about she's the Audubon, Texas Community Outreach person. And she's going to talk about building bird-friendly cities and conservation leaders for the future. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about Yvette. I met her the first time before I knew anything about her. We met while we were banding with Craig Hensley. And I admired so much how easily she got those little tangled up birds out of the net. And she was so helpful to me. And I thought, wow, this is a really neat gal. Well, it wasn't too long. Of course, at that time, she was Yvette Hogney. And she told me how to do her name, Hogney. And after that, she became Yvette Stewart when she married her husband, Michael. She was a Mitchell Lake Audubon Center educator, and Tom and I got to work with her as docents out there. And then when her husband decided to move down to Brownsville and pursue further his education with birds, and she'll tell you about that, they moved away from San Antonio, and Audubon, Texas, which is the state office of the National Audubon Society here in Austin, Texas, decided that they would hire her to be the community outreach. What is the
coordinator?
Coordinator is the term for that. So I am very happy to work with Yvette in any capacity. She's a delight to work with, and she's a delightful person. And I am very proud to be her Aunt Patsy to her parrot, Greenlee. Tom and I have kept a baby parrot set for her a couple of times, and we are totally in love with her, as well as Yvette and Michael. So without further ado, I'm going to quit my share and let Yvette put hers up, and you can hear all about these wonderful programs. Yvette?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the fun introduction. All right, so just pulling up my screen here, and hopefully you can see it now in full view. And I just want to thank you very much for having me. Originally, I was invited to speak about Hog Island, and thank you very much to Bear Audubon Society, because they were going to allow me to have this incredible experience up in Maine this summer. And of course, COVID has put that on hold, but I'm still super excited for next year. And so in lieu of talking about Hog Island, we're going to talk about all the acronyms that now encompass my job. So also thank you for being flexible with the timing of this conversation, because originally we would do it the 4th Wednesday of the month, but next Wednesday we have a fundraiser happening with Audubon, Texas, and we'll actually talk about that in just a couple more minutes. So thank you for flexibility on topic and for time. Okay, so my goal for tonight is to give you an overview of how I got involved with birds and Audubon. And we'll keep it interesting by having a couple little ID challenges throughout. So make sure you guys are awake and focused. And then we'll also talk about not only my past before Audubon, but also the past of the programs that I currently run for Audubon, what we're going to do right now, and how we're building into the future. Especially, we're going to be talking about the Audubon Conservation Leaders Program, which is our high school program for young women. So now, without further ado, I'm going to jump into my past and show you folks some fun photos. So I am not originally from Texas. I'm from New York, but I like to say that I'm actually a Rhode Islander, because I went to school at the University of Rhode Island when I was just 17. I was a little baby. And my initial degree was marine biology. And I quickly fell in love with conservation biology. And while pursuing those classes, I was allowed to do some volunteer bird banding. So that's what you see on my left side of the screen. And if you can see the little bird that I'm holding, let's see actually if I get my highlighter up here. This little bird, maybe you want to take a guess what species this is. It's in Rhode Island. If you want to send a chat to Patsy, she'll let us know. And I'm not going to give away that species right now. So I started bird banding, and then through meeting these folks and learning how to bird band, I was allowed to work on a hermit thrush study. So on the right side of the screen, this bird here is a hermit thrush. And we were keeping these birds over winter. We fed them different diets. The goal of the study was to understand whether or not you could pick up certain nutrients in their blood and know where they had been foraging. The hope was that we would be able to find out exactly where they were feeding before migration and during migration, so that we could start to conserve some of those habitats. Unfortunately, the study was not successful. After we had the birds for 6 months, we were not able to pull out any of the information from blood sampling. And when spring came around, we let all the hermit thrushes back out. So they were well taken care of over winter. They didn't have to migrate. And this bird here is just being released back into the wild.
Yvette, we had 2 winners on the chat on a chickadee, black cap chickadee.
Correct, that is the one. Great. So the folks that I did the hermit thrush study with, they also ran a banding station on Block Island, which is a small island about 10 miles off the coast of Rhode Island. And Fred Loxham probably knows the area, but banding out there for a weekend was the first time I was ever able to hold a hawk. And so the picture on the left-hand side is the first Cooper's hawk I ever held, and got to learn more about their plumage and their characteristics. Pretty exciting. And that led to, shortly after I graduated, I enrolled in AmeriCorps, which is what you see on the right side of the screen there. My AmeriCorps years, I was an educator, but I was stationed at the Norman Bird Sanctuary. And at the sanctuary, we had just a couple of raptors that we would use for education programs. So this picture is me getting trained on how to get a bird to step up onto glove, how to take care of the jesses and make sure the bird is secure and safe. I don't think I was very safe.
The what?
And if we can just mute ourselves, that would be wonderful.
Blair's bread French toast.
Yeah.
Okay, so after I was done in Rhode Island, I actually moved to California, and I did not get a lot of birding done in California. However, I did volunteer at the UC Davis Raptor Rehab. So this adorable little owl that is sitting on my hand there is a species that, was an individual that was not able to be released. And they would have volunteers just sit with the owl and be quiet and get it used to being around people, for the hope that it would eventually be safe to use for education animals. Does anyone want to take a guess which species this is? Again, if you want to just start into the chat, Patsy will let us know if you get it right or not. From California, I was there for about 5.5 years, and again, I didn't do a lot of birding. So I got really tired of being in California with no birds and no time, and eventually I moved back to Rhode Island and attended IBP, which is the Institute for Bird Populations. They offer different banding courses throughout the US, and I took one in Maine. And so here you can see this beautiful American redstart in my hand. And this random person across the way here happens to not be so random anymore. This is my husband, Michael, and we met at this bird banding class. So we learned a lot and met some really great people there.
And we
Also,
have an answer on the owl.
Okay, tell me.
Northern saw-whet owl.
Correct.
Wow, what a group.
Bingo. So IBP, as I said, they teach bird banding all across the US. They have some amazing beginner classes if anybody's interested in, but they also have advanced classes for when you're building up your skills. And they offer internships and volunteer opportunities throughout the world, doing bird banding in really amazing places like Samoa. And I personally went to Saipan with them. So this is one portion of Saipan on the left side of the screen. Our primary focus in Saipan was passerine banding in different parts of the island that had been affected by a huge cyclone in 2015. And so this was the summer of 2016. It was barely a year, and they were kind of monitoring how the birds were recovering. While we were there, we were able to help with sooty shearwaters and banding the babies as they were coming out of their underground burrows. It's pretty amazing. So this is a baby shearwater on the right side of the screen. And these are some of the beautiful everyday birds that I got to handle while I was out there. On the left side is a golden white-eye, and on the right side is a Micronesian Myzamela, which is like a honey creeper that you might find in Hawaii. When I came back from Saipan, I moved to North Carolina and was living there with Michael and got to do some awesome bird banding in different parts of the Carolinas. And then we went up to Minnesota and took the advanced bird banding class. So here you see 4 different chestnut-sided warblers in different stages of their plumage. And after being in North Carolina, we started our move to Texas. During that transition, we stopped at the Yellow Rail and Rice Festival in Louisiana and took yet another banding course. If you folks have never been to the Yellow Rail and Rice Festival, it's an incredible experience. You get to learn a whole lot and do some good bird tourism, if you will. So here is a Sora that we banded during that Yellow Rail and Rice Festival class. Okay, so that's a lot of what I've been doing and who I've been banding with. It's very banding heavy, my experience with birds. And so again, Bear Audubon had given me the opportunity to participate in a field ornithology class at Hog Island, which I'm super excited about next year, because I believe it's going to really grow my skills that I'll be able to use with my Audubon programming. And so while I love bird banding, I love being able to see the different plumages and the different molts and learning about how you properly age and handle birds. It's not the same as being a good ornithologist. It's not the same as being out in the field and picking up on the bird sounds and seeing nests and all the different behaviors that we observe when we're out in the field. So this is us currently. And Michael on the right side of the screen here, he is going to UT RGV and he's studying greyhawks. He has a small male in his hand, and I actually have a female in my hand. And of course, the angle of the birds is different, but females are much chunkier and stronger than the males in the species. And I just want to point out, like, what Michael's doing here in this photo, he's getting a picture of the underwing so that we can see which feathers are growing in. This is a new feather, this is an old feather, this is a new feather. And then also here is a new feather. So Michael is putting backpack transmitters on these hawks, and he's observing what the wintering range is for a pair, what their territory expands to during breeding season, and also he is studying where juveniles migrate to and how they disperse. And if you were here at the beginning of the conversation, Patsy mentioned a couple times our baby bird, her grandbaby bird, and this is Greenleaf, so she might scream at some point while on this conversation. Michael and I are not only just banding his hawks, we are also running MAP stations in the spring and MOSI stations starting next month. So MAP stands for Monitoring Avian Productivity and Survivorship, and then MOSI is Monitoreo de Sobrevivencia Invierno, which is a Spanish way of saying monitoring how birds survive throughout winter. And so MOSI stations are only allowed to operate in the very southern tip of the US, and then they go through Central and into South America. And we're studying the birds that are staying here wintering, how healthy they are, making sure that we're observing like when sex characteristics start to develop, you know, we're looking at different plumages, etc. It's pretty amazing to have some of these birds in hand. And so I want to just give another bird quiz here on the right side of the screen. If anyone wants to take a guess which oriole this is, you just put it in the chat. And of course, on the left side here, this is kind of an easier species because we have that bold red eye for a red-eyed vireo. So in addition to running these two different stations, we're also helping with external raptor research. There's a well-known raptor biologist, Bill Clark, down here. He is involved with the University of North Texas Raptor Program, and we're helping to trap Harris hawks, put bands on them, and also take blood samples. So this young juvenile male was actually caught in my driveway. I was sitting in my office one day, typing out some papers, and I saw him on the side of our house and was able to capture him. Michael and I banded him and released him. Patsy, was there a winner in the chat for which species of oriole that is?
Yeah, we had somebody said hooded oriole with the question mark.
Good question. You want to check out those over wing coverts, those yellow ones, and it's actually an Altamira oriole.
Altamira, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a lot of my background and where I came from and what I've been doing. And now I want to talk to you about Audubon and what I'm doing for Audubon. So I'm going to keep information about the Bird City, Texas program pretty short and sweet. There's a lot of information going around about it. And the summary is that Audubon, Texas, and Texas Parks and Wildlife have been working on a partnership to launch this program for about 3 years. The purpose of Bird City, Texas is to encourage folks, whether it's rural, urban, or suburban, somewhere in between, to understand the value of wildlife, native plants, and especially birds. So we're trying to get folks more excited about urban conservation and to encourage more education outreach, more habitat management, and more threat reduction for birds. So for instance, that catio talk that's coming up, that's one of the best things that we can do for birds is keeping our cats inside and or contained in an outside environment. And so Bird City, Texas is really just trying to give, validation and high fives to the communities who have a long history of doing great things for birds. So San Antonio has been very active with bird conservation, land conservation, even as the city is growing exponentially. And other places like Houston and Dallas, which we know that, there's bird strikes happening, there are some deterrents to good conservation, and yet there's still so much that our communities are doing. So again, Bird City, Texas is really praise for what has been done and encouragement to go to the next level. Anybody who's interested in figuring out more about Bird City, especially if you're not part of San Antonio, if you live outside, I'd be happy to talk to you. I'd be happy to talk to different organizations about it. And you can just Google birdcitytexas.org and you'll get to our website. So that's a short and sweet cap of Bird City. And now I really want to get into the Audubon Conservation Leaders Program. And on my first slide, you saw that it said acronyms everywhere. And it's kind of my joke because Audubon Conservation Leaders has had a 6-year history. And in that time, we've had 3-4 different names, all of them acronyms. And it's sponsored by the Texas Women in Conservation, TWIC. And we'll talk about TWIC in a little bit too, but Texas Women in Conservation, they help us fund our outside outreach. The program has previously been called GALS, which stood for Girls Action Leadership School. And then it moved to CAPS, which is Conservation Action Program. Nobody knows where the S is from. And finally, we realized that Audubon Conservation Leaders sounds great, and ACL is a fast, easy way to say that. But we're expanding the program, and the next iteration will be opening in Austin, and Austin has Austin City Limits, which gets called ACL. So we can't have both of us using that acronym. Nobody will know what the girls are talking about. So we're playing around with some more alphabet soup. We might call it CLIP. The other thing it gets called is Conservation Leaders Program for Young Women. So it's a mouthful, but it's an incredible program, and I'm very excited to talk to you more about it. So our partner to launch the Audubon Conservation Leaders is the Young Women's Preparatory Network. This is a charter school network across Texas. There are 9 different cities that they have a school in. We currently only work with 4 of them. And our longest partner has been at Irma Rangel in Dallas. And they have traditionally been paired up with our Trinity River Audubon Center. If any of you folks ever get a chance to go up to Dallas, the Trinity River Audubon Center is a beautiful building. It's an LED building. The Trinity River flows through the property. There's good birding there. It's gorgeous. So Irma Rangel is probably 15 minutes from our Audubon Center. And so this has been a very productive partnership. And after we worked with Irma, we've also worked with Grand Prairie School up in the Cedar Hill region with our Dogwood Audubon Center in Cedar Hill. And that partnership has had some ups and downs. Sometimes the Grand Prairie School has not been able to get students, and we're not currently working with the Grand Prairie School. Our next most successful school is in San Antonio. So we have a phenomenal program with the Young Women's Leadership Academy, which is kind of on like almost directly in the middle of the city. It's about 25 minutes from Mitchell Lake Audubon Center. And then just 2 years ago, we started a new Audubon Conservation Leaders Program in Houston. That program has been wonderful as well. The Houston folks are very passionate. The girls are really sweet and smart. And as I said earlier, we are expanding the program this year. We're now going to be partnered with the Ann Richards School in Austin. And we are working with the lovely Kaylee from the Travis County Audubon. I keep saying Travis County. I'm sorry, it's not. It's just Travis Audubon Society. And Kaylee is an educator for Travis Audubon, and she's very passionate. She's done a great job of outlining what ACL is going to be like in Austin. And I'm very excited for the program. We do have to keep a certain amount of students involved in the program. And we're always going for the balance of engaging and really making a connection with the students, and also kind of keeping the program functional. And so we do limit the groups. All of our schools, except for Ann Richards, have between 10 and 12 students in the program. So it's a very small core of girls that get this conservation program, but they are really wrapped into it. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. This is Ann Richards' first year, and Kaylee has opened the program to 24 students. So she has the most out of everybody. So this slide kind of gives us a little bit of the philosophy behind the Conservation Leaders Program. You know, urban youth do not have the same connection to the natural world that we might have had when we were growing up. And so we are really trying to restart this connection for the students. And what we're doing is we're taking them out and getting them to understand the connection to the land. We know that if we don't understand it, we're not going to conserve it. And if we don't conserve it, it's going to be gone. So I really love this quote. I think it ties in well to the program. So here's a little bit about what we're trying to do with the program. You know, we want these students who may not ever see female scientists taking the lead on programs. We want them to know the rich history of women making changes and doing well for conservation in our state of Texas, right? We want the girls to have brand new experiences, things that they would not normally be able to do. We frequently have taken the girls kayaking over the 6 years of the program, and that's always very engaging and exciting for them. Rarely have the girls gone kayaking before they've come into our program. That's just one of the types of physical challenges that we do. We do take them camping for 5 days, usually in early June. So there's a physical challenge of just being outside that whole time and how hot it is. But also we take them for some of their longest hikes they've ever done. We get them outside of their city, teaching them new kind of hands-on coordination, et cetera. And it's also about representation. So we always want the girls to see themselves and their potential as individuals to translate into career paths that seem attainable to them. So we'll talk a little bit more about racial justice in just a little bit, but representation is really important. And our schools that we work with have racially diverse students, you know, students from Black communities, Latinx communities, Asian American, immigrant communities, et cetera. We want these girls to know that they belong in science and that they are well represented. We're also trying to give them different hands-on experiences. You know, the Young Women's Preparatory Network schools are fantastic schools. They're high achieving, and they do have better science classes than maybe what you would get in a traditional ISD or independent school district. And yet there's still room for more. So the Conservation Leaders Program is always aiming for hands-on experiences for our girls. It's not just talking at them. And then additionally, we are trying to develop leadership skills. So think about your experiences leading up till this point in your life. You know, who have been good leaders? What are their communication styles? How do they work out problems? How do they ask for help? Those kind of things are not innate for many folks. And so we want students to feel like they've had this experience, that they can try new leadership skills and walk away successful. So here's an image from our Houston Houston career panel. And you can see our girls are from all different backgrounds, and it's actually kind of hard to pick out the adults because they're kind of short, but you know, our scientists came from a huge variety of backgrounds. We had women from Brazil that had emigrated to the US, women from India, Native American, not Native Americans, Americans who were born here. We had women representing different backgrounds that the students are interested in. So we had virologists, we had robotics, we had microbiology folks, we had oceanography folks, we had people from NASA. So we had this incredible career panel that the girls got to actually hear about valid career paths forward. So the program has gone through a couple different iterations. And traditionally, what's happened is that what we do at Mitchell Lake versus what we do at our Trinity River Center are not connected at all. We might hit on some of these general topics, like the girls at Mitchell Lake might go ponding, the girls at the Trinity River might go to a different type of aquatic system, but they may not have any crossover. We've always tried to have some sort of conservation action so the girls can get their hands dirty and understand the importance of things like native plants. But from each of our cities, they may be having completely different conservation experiences. And what this led to is every year we did our camp out at the exact same spot in Goose Island on the coast. And the girls would meet for the first time at that camp out, and they wouldn't have anything in common, or they would have had such different experiences on their field trips. It took them a while to warm up to each other. And so in this current year, the 2019-2020 school year, which was disrupted, we tried to build in more camaraderie. So every program had the same field trips planned out. And of course, COVID changed things, but the goal for this past school year was to get the girls on the same path. So when they finally meet in the summer, they have more of a bond than they might have thought. And so we actually expanded the number of field trips that we have planned. Traditionally, it's been 3 or 4 physically active field trips, 1 career panel, and then the camp out. Okay. This past year, we had 5 field trips plus a career panel plus a camp out planned. And we were able to get through 3 of those field trips. The Houston school was the only school that had the career panel. Okay. And I just love this because, again, even though our field trips were disrupted, here you have an image of our Houston girls on the left-hand side. They are about to meet a Madagascar hissing cockroach for the first time. And you can see that they are fearful and timid, but every girl ended up holding it and they kind of overcame this fear. Okay? On the right side, we have our girls in Dallas who were working at a wildlife rehab. They were cleaning out all the cages. They did this hard physical labor. They realized how much it takes to actually take care of injured animals. And the clean out that we did is something that this small organization does 2 to 3 times a week. And so they really, this hands-on experience really kind of ingrained the knowledge into them, right? We have this great saying, I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. And so again, the Audubon Conservation Leaders Program is all about getting these hands-on experiences because we know they're life-changing. So that's all the past. That's what we've been doing beforehand. Gradual tweaks. We were trying to get the students on board. And now I want to talk to you about our future of the program. About a year and a half ago, early 2019, we had a new funding opportunity within the state. It's something that the National Audubon had put together. It's called the Maggie Walker Incentive Fund. And the idea behind that funding was to allow different parts of Audubon to apply to expand a program. And in this brainstorm session that we were working through for this funder, we kind of realized that we have a new opportunity with the Conservation Leaders Program to start bringing in strategic priorities. And so starting in 2019, we had this great plan to overhaul the entire program, to start bringing in really focused curricula for the girls. And unfortunately, we actually did not get the Maggie Walker Fund that year, but that didn't stop us. We've continued to go forward with the programming, and we are now switching so that each year we are tackling one of these huge priorities and breaking it down into tangible, exciting ways for the students. So our first year of action in this new platform is going to be about the climate change and the climate crisis, really. And COVID has been bittersweet for this. I've said before that we traditionally only do 4-5 field trips, a career panel, and camping. Well, because of COVID, we've had to completely rethink how we approach this. And so what we're doing is we're going to have a bunch of virtual programming for the girls this year, starting this Saturday. We took their feedback from their previous experiences. The girls say the hardest part about the program is missing school and having to make up that work for our field trips. So we're doing Saturday program and Tuesday after school programming. We're no longer going to disrupt their schooling, which of course in COVID is different than it would be in person. But even past this current crisis, we plan on having a more flexible schedule for the girls. And we're able to offer 7 different virtual programs this year, and I'm super excited about it. Our first topic is going to be environmental justice and racial justice, because we cannot talk about the climate crisis without acknowledging what's happening to people of color and what's happening in less developed nations and how our individual choices are impacting that, and also how our government is impacting that. So it's going to be a very intensive way to start off the year, but it's also just critically important. There is no room for ignoring the racial issues, no matter how you are approaching education and science with folks. And so I'm really excited to tackle that with the girls. Our next topic after that is going to be community science, and we're going to challenge them to do a bio blitz, and Craig Hensley is going to help us set that up with the girls. We'll come up with some kind of fun reward for the students. We're also doing a virtual session on personal choice and your carbon footprint. We're going to be doing one on ocean acidification, something called green maps, where they can build out their community and understand like where they can find better resources within their own city. We're going to do a debate prep so the girls can feel confident talking about all these new climate information that they're gathering, all the climate data that they're going to see. And then we're going to have a town hall where the girls will act out different parts of community looking for action. And that's going to be topped off by a climate panel. I have a 17-year-old activist from Youth vs. Apocalypse, which is a phenomenal California-based youth inclusion and youth activist program. Her name is Aisha Clark. You can Google her. She's done some great stuff calling out her senator and asking for the Green New Deal. So she's a very exciting person for these young students to meet. I also have a climate scientist and sea level expert from Brooklyn calling in to this panel. And then I also have a solar panel engineer. So again, kind of tackling the climate crisis from a wide variety, showing the girls different ways that they can get involved in helping to save and alter the climate crisis. And in each of these topics, no matter what the conversation is, we're trying to incorporate more mindfulness, more art, and more community. I think we can all agree that the way COVID has kind of fractured our traditional community, it's really important to glue it back in new and exciting ways. And these students are high achieving and also high stress. So while we're talking about an emotional topic like the climate crisis, we're going to try and build in ways that they can get centered, get focused, and not feel overwhelmed. If all goes according to plans, and Texas does a good job of kind of pulling back on the COVID situation, and we're able to get our numbers in control, we're going to have 3 in-person trips in the spring. Again, this would happen in each of our cities, so Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. I'm not taking care of the Austin crew. That's going to be up to the Travis Audubon Society. They have their own layout for that. But for each of our in-person trips, we are going to focus on the girls having the option to record their own climate story and kind of make, a 90-second video that shows how powerful it is to be talking about the climate crisis. We'll also do a career panel on that same trip, so it'll be a mixed day for them. We're going to have a solution-oriented field trip, and so that might look like going to the SAWS water reuse program. In Houston, they have the 8th largest landfill in the US, so going to visit that and learning more about recycling in their city. I'm still not sure about Dallas, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And then the last field trip would be a low carbon cooking, not carb, but carbon. And the idea is to take the girls to farmers markets and learn about urban agriculture and how they can engage in using either native plants to beautify their area or local produce to kind of reduce their carbon footprint and where our food is coming from. And then we're going to spend the afternoon cooking. So all 3 of those programs are super exciting to me. And there are hands-on skills involved in every program, whether it's the virtual or whether it's the in-person, that will lead to cohesion within our camping experience, if we're able to do that this summer. So again, camping, it's normally 5 days, either on the coast, or as we develop these new strategic priority years, we might take the girls into different parts of Texas to go camping. But camp is always about the girls really honing those leadership skills, communication, being on time, getting stuff done. Okay. So that's a lot of ACL. And now I want to talk about how you folks can get involved, because this is not a one-person show. I cannot do all of the thinking for Audubon Conservation Leaders Program going forward. And so my call to action for you folks would be share connections. I'm always looking for women to come and talk to the girls. So the more diverse their backgrounds, that we can link them into science and conservation, the better it is for the students. They should be able to see their personal career path and interest reflecting science and conservation. There's not a career that I can think of that will not be impacted by the climate crisis. And so we want to be able to fold in those connections to the students. In the future, when we're back to doing in-person field trips, either at Mitchell Lake or around San Antonio, I would encourage you to talk to me and let me know if you're interested in volunteering. We always have opportunities to have new leaders showing the girls different skills. You can educate other folks. So when you have the opportunity to talk about what's happening in your community to get more young students engaged in science and conservation, this is a phenomenal program to talk about. I would have plenty of details that I'd be willing to share with folks, including my email address. So if you ever have the opportunity and you want to make connections or have other folks learn about ACL, please put them in contact with me. And paid internships. Our students are high school. All of the Young Women's Preparatory Network are Title I schools. These girls are coming from working families. They need job experiences and they need paid internships. So if you have connections in the community and you hear about new internships that are opening that are science focused or communication focused or community focused, those are all good things to send my way and I can give it to the girls. So again, just kind of helping build out their new opportunities is really important. And with that, I'm gonna throw in this extra ask. This is Shreya. She is my third year ACL participant. She's one of our 2 seniors this year. She created this new program at her school after talking with me and a couple other of the conservation leaders this past summer after the Chris Cooper incident where he was accosted in New York City. And we talked about race and how the girls were feeling and kind of internalizing all the upheaval that had happened this summer, and also what their school was doing. And Shreya, along with 2 other students, Maria Paula and Jordan, felt like their school had not done enough. And they were really frustrated teenagers. And we were having this encouraging conversation. And I said, well, what do you guys want to do about it? And Shreya took the lead and worked with these other students, and they crafted a beautiful letter to their principal saying, hey, we want more. We're in this preparatory network. We're in this leadership experience. We expect our adults to show us how to be better leaders. And the school changed their prerogative. And it's a great story. And so Shreya and Maria Paula and Jordan created this new group called Speak Out that's going to help their school highlight different incidences for women or for racial justice. And I think that's great. She is, like I said, a senior. She's graduating this year, and she is looking at colleges like Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Rice University, and Stanford University. She's already been early admitted to UTSA, and I'm forgetting the other school. It's another local San Antonio school. But she's looking for more opportunities. Her family are immigrants. They came to the US 5 years ago or so. So she is not eligible for a lot of different financial aid. That's the word I'm looking for. And so, my call to action for you folks is, how can you help? Is there a way that we can come up with a small community scholarship for her or for any ACL senior in the future that would help them buy books for their first semester, help them buy food for their first semester? Those kind of little things, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It's still incredibly helpful for these students. So anytime that we have an opportunity to elevate the girls and help them pursue their next level of school and education is incredibly important. And with that, I'm just going to finish with this quote. I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm going to pause for a moment and let you read it. This is why we're doing this program. It's why leadership skills is important. That's it. Thank you so much for your time and hearing me talk about the Conservation Leaders Program. I hope it was interesting and enlightening for you. And with that, we can open it up to any questions that you have. And I'm going to put my email address in the chat as well.
Oh, wow. My heart's beating fast. Thank you very much. That was very inspiring. We do have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
Is there a scholarship? I think you touched on it, but is there a scholarship program to help these young women? How would Shreya be able to go to Harvard? Would she get a scholarship from that university itself?
Yeah, so right now, Shreya has reached out to me a couple times throughout the summer. I'm reaching out to a couple different parts of Audubon to kind of figure out how we can get more scholarship information for her. We actually have a call with all center directors next week. I believe it's next week. It might actually be the week after, but we're kind of looking in, and that's why I'm putting out this general call. You know, if Bear wanted to put together a certain amount of money and you want to wait until she has her, you know, letter of approval, and then you can award her a small amount for her books, that's wonderful. We can work those kind of things out. There's a scholarship listing for San Antonio schools that I've shared with Shreya before, but she's still just in the application process. So she has her recs out to her universities. She has been early admitted to a couple of San Antonio ones, and she is on waitlisted for others. And her big hope is Harvard right now. I have a recommendation letter that I'm writing for her there. So I don't have any more information on which scholarship she's applied for except for that.
Well, in general, though, are there this ACL program? I'll use that term because that's the easiest one. Does the program, is it hooked to any scholarship program within National Audubon? Is what I
No, we're just trying to dive into that and see how we can build out that resource.
Okay, very good. And then here it's, is this a program in Texas only, or is it on a national level?
The Conservation Leaders Program is just in Texas. It's just part of Audubon, Texas. There have been similar attempts at programming like this, but not successfully. So this is our 6th year running a program and growing. And it's because we have pretty consistent funding help through the Texas Women in Conservation Network.
Okay, and the other part of the question from the same person about scholarships was, do they need a mentor? And I think you touched on that too, about if any of us in the audience or anybody in our membership, if you're bringing the girls, let's say, to Mitchell Lake, and if there's anything we could offer to help do something, you know, I'm sure there are people in our membership that would like to work with, we can put that on our website and ask for participation. And then when you decide you're going to come here, let us know and we see if we can, I'm sorry? Oh, Tom says I'm not looking at the right place. I'm seeing you over here and my camera's over here. He's always trying, he's my director. So I want you to make one more point. This Texas Women in Conservation program that's next Wednesday, which is the reason you're here this Wednesday. Would you speak to that and tell people how they can get involved in it if they would like to be participants in that?
Yes, and actually I have the link. Let me just pull that into the chat. And so what Texas Women in Conservation traditionally is a beautiful luncheon that we put on for about 2 hours in the spring. And it's all different fundraising opportunities within that. That luncheon raises probably about 50% of the funds that we use any given year. And so that is different sponsorship levels that folks do. Then there's raffles that help raise funds, etc. We bring the students in from the programming and they kind of give their own experience on the programming. Traditionally, it's done in the spring. Of course, COVID canceled this year. So we had moved it to the fall with the hope that we could do it in person. And, you know, it's better safe to do it virtually and to not try and put a bunch of people in a room in Dallas at this point. And so we're holding it as a virtual experience. It should be just as exciting and engaging. We have our top folks in the state really working hard to make it an interesting hour-and-a-half program. And it's free. So if anybody here is interested in learning more about Texas women in conservation and want to hear about what our honorees have done this year or in their careers in Texas, it's a great virtual event. And you just follow the link, and I'm going to put that into the chat in just a moment, and you'll be able to learn more about it.
Yes, and just to add to that, it honors 4 women from Texas who have contributed greatly to conservation in Texas. The 4 honorees are on the link that Yvette, one of the honorees last year was Carolyn Shipman Evans of the Cibolo Nature Center, for example. And wherever it's being held, it focuses on women from that area. So this year was supposed to be in Dallas, but it's a wonderfully inspiring program about what these women have done in their own part of Texas. And the money goes to support the program that Yvette's running with the leadership. And there will be some comments from some of the girls from the leadership program at this program next Wednesday. And usually, you know, we have tables and we sit around a table and so forth, but you don't need a table this year. It can just be in your computer, and it's always a very inspiring event. They have videos about the work of each of the women being honored, and they are just so top notch. There's just great stuff. Yeah, Tom says it's a good way to get an inferiority complex. But they're wonderful women, and they've done wonderful things. And what Yvette's doing is to try to grow some more in our state. We had another question. Talat, forgive me if I missed this, but what was the specific impetus for the creation of the ACL program? Why did it start in Texas, for example?
All right. So it was started before my time. And so to the best of my knowledge, it was started as a partnership with Rangel School in Dallas. And it was combined between our knowledge of, and I say ours, it's Audubon, Texas knowledge of engaging youth. And this high school wanted the opportunity to get their girls out and experiencing new takes on science, you know, more so than what you can offer in a traditional classroom. Mm-hmm. And so that was the impetus for it. It was a partnership that we kind of both brought different angles to the table. Traditionally, Audubon, Texas works mostly with elementary students. So there was this desire to reach a higher level. You know, the conversations and the type of topics that you can cover when you're talking to high schoolers is very different than 3rd or 5th grade. And so there was a desire to expand our take on programming, as well as kind of build this partnership within our community and get new students involved with Audubon and understanding what Audubon has done for the state of Texas for a very long time. You know, Audubon has been involved on the coast for over 100 years, I believe now, 99, 100, somewhere in that range. And we've just been expanding further and further into the state. So that was the impetus, was upping our game and then helping these girls learn more.
And it goes way back. Before Yvette was at Mitchell Lake, there was a summer program with the Women's Leadership School here in San Antonio, where the girls would come out in the morning and do things at Mitchell Lake, and then in the afternoon, those of us who were working in the program would go over to the school where it was air conditioned and do experiments and do things like that that we could do inside in the very, very heat of the day. So it goes way back too. Yvette, we've lost your video. Did you mean to do that? We may have lost Yvette. I hope not. There
Well,
she is.
my audio was going out, so I turned my video off so I could hear you
Okay,
back.
I thought that's what might have happened. We're talking to Yvette down in the Rio Grande Valley, and they've been having some problems with the Wi-Fi, so she knows how to kind of tweak it and so forth. So I have a name here in, and I think it's from Greg, Ileana Pena. Started a lot of this at Mitchell Lake when she was there, I think.
Right. She was before my time, but I met her as she was transitioning out of Audubon, and she was a phenomenal woman. She's still doing great things over at TWA, and really kind of leading the charge for education and conservation within the state. She's been a wonderful partner. Like, we can go to her and ask her questions, and she's still willing and able to engage with Audubon.
Yeah, she was the state conservation person for the whole state of Texas. For 15, 16, for Audubon, yes, for Audubon, for 15, 16 years. And, you know, she weighs 90 pounds soaking wet, and she was trying to do the whole state of Texas. And, but she has a 100-pound brain and lots of energy. And she kind of reminds, you kind of remind her of us of her, lots of energy, which it'll take. And so anyway, I was really thrilled to hear all the new things that you're going to be doing, all the topics you're going to be covering. And so if anybody in our audience tonight, or if you have friends who you know could be on a panel for a career for some of these young women, if you have any skills that are appropriate that you'd like to share, then Yvette has given us her email, and I will guarantee you that if you contact Yvette, Yvette will contact you back. She's excellent at that, and she will take the information you give her and act on it. She's a woman of action. So,
Thank you.
And Fred Loxham says, yes, Ileana is a delightful person. And if anybody else in our audience tonight would like to ask a question without having to type it in the chat, you're welcome at this point to unmute your microphone and ask a question if you'd like. And be sure you get, if you don't get all the things out of the chat, I am recording. And if you, we will be posting this program, a link to this program on our Bear Audubon website. And we will have in the chat the things that are in the chat. And all of those will be available. And if you have any questions, Yvette would be happy to answer, I'm sure. And if you contact Bear Audubon Society at bearaudubon.org, that's our official email. And somebody monitors that closely, and we will answer you by email. So reach out, and if you would like to help, or if you know someone that might like to help. So Yvette, thank you so very much for coming and telling us about all this wonderful work. It really lifted me up after.
Girls are really amazing. I would encourage everybody to come to the TWIC luncheon. It's not a luncheon, it's an evening now, but the TWIC virtual experience next week, and just hear what the girls are learning about, hear what they have to say about the program. It's really phenomenal. And again, just please reach out if you have ideas for internships that are happening around San Antonio, if you know of scholarship opportunities, if you work with schools around those kind of things. Those are wonderful resources that we can share with our students so they can continue to be incredible leaders and get their education. These girls are smart and passionate, and they want to learn. They want experiences. So anything we can do to push them along is great.
Well, and when they do their 90-second videos, if any of them want to come, if you want to get a group of them together and come and present them at one of our meetings, and give them that opportunity to practice their speaking skills and present their work, we'd love to hear them.
Great, and I will let you know when those videos are available too. Appreciate that.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, and all the best. I love to hear all about your banding work. You and Michael are definitely a power couple.
We're doing lots of things down here now. We just got on a roll. We can't stop. So thank you for letting me talk a little bit about my history, because it's fun. So thank you for everybody in your time tonight. I hope you learned something. I hope you feel inspired and excited.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you along the birding trail as we work. I want to give a shout out to Britt Coleman and Sherry G for heading up the Bird City, Texas San Antonio Committee. They're working feverishly to get our application ready by December 4th and making wonderful progress, and they've worked their little brains and all the other parts, and we've had such great support from other organizations here in San Antonio that are working toward it, and it's only going to lift, like they say, a high tide lifts all boats. So as we lift up, the rest will happen. So thank you again, and everybody, thanks for coming. If you have any questions, just give us a shout.
Bye now.
Night.
Who's that?